At this point, I don't even know if the director's cut's gonna save this story. Hey guys, my name is Joseph Curtis, and if you love movies just as much as me, you have come to the right place. Now do me a huge solid and click that like and subscribe button. Also, if you want to follow me on the following social platforms, that would be great as well. Now, let's start talking Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver. The warriors face their past, revealing their motivations before the realm's forces arrive to crush the growing rebellion. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't think Part 1 was that terrible. Yes, I know, but it is mediocre, and worst of all, it was forgettable, with forgettable characters. So I was hoping, based off the new trailers that promoted this Part 2 story, to be a 2-hour non-stop action-packed ride that would find these characters to be somewhat memorable. And sadly, I'm here to say this movie doesn't do any favors to the first one, other than maybe some cool slow-motion action sequences. I can't deny that. It's pretty cool. Zack clearly wants to take this film in a more gritty Shakespearean space opera epic approach, and he gets the visuals, music, sound design done pretty well. Everything else though? Garbage day! Side note, Anthony Hopkins is in this film, plays the robot. When the moments are happening with the robot, I enjoyed very much. Too bad there are barely any moments with the robot. Well, at least we have Anthony Hopkins doing the opening monologue for this film, boring me to death with exposition yet again.
They consumed everything upon their planet until the treachery of an assassin's blade struck down the king and queen.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is...
One thing that genuinely surprised me with this film was the pacing. I honestly thought that Zack Snyder was going to go in an approach of a 2-hour non-stop action ride where it just builds upon each sequence, because we finally got to the moment where the heroes are here and they're here to protect the villagers. Except it takes another hour and 5 minutes for that moment to happen. There's just really no sense of urgency. We spend nearly an hour with these memorable characters. Don't ask me their names, I don't remember at all. Maybe Korra, I think. And it's within the first half where they're just doing nothing but talking about the fight, which then comes in the second half. And don't get me wrong, the action does happen, and it lasts for about a good 40-ish minutes. For the most part, the action in a visual sense, and yes, there's still a lot of slow motion, delivers. It just takes an awful amount of time till we get to the moments that we actually want to see. The attempt for any emotional weight for this film with the characters is wasted. The premise is that she's this legendary Scargiver who is a help with the royal family and connected with the daughter. The biggest problem though with this film is that we don't have any form of connection between her, the main character, and this little girl. That seems to be this huge arc for her. And we've had 2 movies now, 4 hours. It's gonna be 6 if we get both director's cut here this year. But anyways, it's 4 hours that we have. And each time that we get any moment of this big arc between her being a part of this huge organization, this empire, this royal family, anytime we get a flashback, especially in Part 2, this film, it comes across as a clanging nothing. It's just visual noise where I don't feel anything with this character. It's showing us where her mindset is today in the present. I don't have any interest also in the other side characters. I love the dude that hopefully one day will play a live action Tarzan for Disney. There is genuinely a moment to actually, it's kind of funny, to display character development. Djimon Hounsou basically forcing everyone to say their stories before they all die, and there could have been a really unique way to approach that certain circumstance, but instead it just felt like Zack Snyder and the other 2 writers were like, yeah, we have to find a way to actually put the people's backstories because we only have an hour left in this movie. So let's just have a roundtable discussion where they just awkwardly talk about the most tragic stuff that has happened in their lives in the span of 1 to 2 minutes. Yeah, sounds like a great plan. No, I need to say this, I love Zack Snyder. I know he's never gonna watch this video, but if you ever do, I love you and you should keep going. I'm rooting for you. Also, there's another moment in this film where a villager is giving a gift to all of the guests that come in. There are no sequences, at least in my mind, from the movie that I saw, There are no moments that this girl has with every single person that she is talking like as if they're best friends or they've known each other for at least a couple months, if not a year, but they only met for about a day. The use of slow motion for half the time in this movie, not needed. Specifically in the first act when they are preparing for the fight, there is literal slow motion for people harvesting grain. Epic. No. Now finally, when the action kicks into high gear in the last 45 minutes in this film, it does come across as pretty friggin' awesome, especially with the slow motion that actually feels earned in those moments, not with grain, but with actual blasters going off or axes being thrown to chop somebody's head off or whatever, even though they do quick cuts and they can't show it because PG-13. Yeah, there's some pretty awkward edits in this movie as well, where it had me scratching my head at times and made me realize, oh yeah, there's a rated R cut of this. Why didn't they just release that? But besides that, the action for most of the scenes is pretty sweet. Another thing that you cannot deny is the craftsmanship, the sound design, the visual effects, and the world that Zack Snyder creates in front of us. It feels all so different and kind of familiar at the same time. The issue though with the first film is that we would get all these worlds that would go by so quickly, just too fast for me to appreciate what I am seeing. And now at the second movie, we barely get to see any other worlds and we're stuck here in this small field. And don't get me wrong, I love isolated stories. Shoot, I just saw Abigail this week, one of the best horror movies this year. Clearly Zack wanted us to feel that isolation with these characters. It's just too bad he doesn't do anything with them while there is so much time to get to know them. And when we do get to know them, it's just not executed well. Overall, this movie does actually a lot more talking than doing. And when finally the action kicks in, I'm not gonna lie to you, there were some enjoyable moments, but the wait to get there doesn't feel justified. In fact, I feel like I wasted my time in this world that so clearly wants to be the next Star Wars epic that's a bit dirtier. Problem is, I do not care about any of these characters. With that said, I'm going to give Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, a 4 out of 10. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this review. It really means a lot. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and also don't forget to be blessed.